Okay. So there was a poll, I guess, where they did like 11 NFL players, which, by the way, only 11 in the hundreds and hundreds of people that's in the NFL, and you only do 11. That's kind of just dumb. But basically, who's the most overrated, I guess, quarterback? And Josh Allen won that one. Then with Jalen Hurts and then Tua Tagovailoa next after that. Now, we haven't talked. Nobody's talking about that Jalen Hurts is up there and Tua's up there. We're really on Josh Allen's up there. And from everybody basically saying that basically how like y'all are crazy. Who are these 11 players? I was like, Josh Allen, how can he be overrated? Blah blah blah. I was like, one, I guess with the other two involved, I was like, I can see maybe why Josh Allen is there. But also with that, I don't think that anybody ever gives a clear definition of what overrated means to them. Because while he can be, everybody like he's like the top three quarterback, all this other stuff. And it's sort of like my other point of basically that not everybody is a top five quarterback. If you hear everybody talking, it's basically like, oh, this player good, this guy's good, this guy's good, this guy's good. And it's like, oh, he's a top quarterback. He's a top quarterback. What the hell that mean when there's a lot of these top quarterbacks? So, but now I will say that I was like, Josh Allen I was like, if you don't have Josh Allen within your top five, I need to see who these top five is. We already know who one is. But I can understand that he being in there just because what like overrated overrated has to technically be someone who is a good player. I mean, it doesn't have to always be someone who's a good player, but basically like someone who's a good player or being talked as a good player while like at the same time getting a lot of praise. And I was like, I think like praise, TV time, that in a warped sense than maybe somebody else who does great things as well too. So I think like to me that's what sort of like that is, where it's like Tua was on there and I was like, I've been somebody who's been critical of Tua while thinking that he's a really good quarterback. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, he's top five. I'm not putting them up there. But if I was like, you either get people that say he's that, or yeah, all right. And I was like, he's better than all right, but he ain't top five either. But he ain't the best thing since sliced bread. But it's like he also could get criticism because he's not the top guy either. So, and then Jalen Hurts, who had like so much of an up and down career so far, that I was like, I could also see why a lot of people are like, yo, he was up there MVP vote and got to the Super Bowl. Then all of a sudden it's like last year, is that who he actually is? Was he just hurt? But we talk about him all the time, where it's like his team with Nick Sirianni, the Eagles, so he gets a lot of talk. Miami gets a lot of talk with him, to a, John Allen gets a lot of talk where it's like, poor boo hoo, that was like, he's getting criticized like a top quarterback for the interceptions he takes. I mean, and I was like, him not winning big or whatever. Like, and I think that's, and like the way the argument sort of was to me, what was is really why like players I was like I can see why he could be overrated because I was like they started saying like quarterbacking is not a I was like win loss is not a quarterback stat, which is not that I don't disagree with. It's the fact that yeah, but then all this other stuff you connect to the quarterback that it doesn't matter because it has to be. Like if it wasn't a win loss of the quarterback, then stop talking about the quarterback like that. Then like I was like, look, he gets to control a lot of the games. Guess what that means? That he has a really big say on how the game goes, which means he has the chance to determine the win or loss game. At the same time, they're over here being like, oh, I was like, I already knew they were gonna when they said it that it was basically people hating, and it's like that's what the overrated list is. It's basically kind of hating. That we all compare him to Mahomes and stuff like that, and it's like no, It always doesn't have to be a thing to Mahomes. It could just be like, okay, Mahomes over here. How is he to his other contemporaries? It depends on what your flavor is. Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. I was like, C.J. Stroud getting a lot of love now. I was like, but that's why I said, I was like, if he's not in your top 5, then I had to see the top 5, because I was like, after I got there, and I was like, I don't know how many other quarterbacks I can necessarily say that I would have over Josh Allen that isn't Mahomes, Burrow, or Lamar Allen in some form, to be honest. Like, that doesn't mean it's like some ones that's coming up, Love, Stroud, things like that. So it's not like there isn't a chance for there to be maybe somebody else there, but it's really not. So I was like, I could see him being overrated in the way that I guess like, like people come to the defense of Josh Allen way faster to me than Lamar Jackson. I was like, Lamar won 2 MVPs. Joe Burrow has been to the Super Bowl. I was like, but Josh Allen is the one that gets talked about at a very high level. And I was like, and not saying that he's not great. It's just saying that, you would think that he would have got the 2 MVPs and been to the Super Bowl or whatever. They try to defend it all the time where it's like, if it wasn't for his defense, he would have beat the Chiefs. And it's like, well, that shit sounds like it sucks. It sounds like, guess what? That's how the cookie crumbles. Like, I'm not, like, don't, like, you're getting, like, these are the things that kind of can make a player overrated, even when they're really not sometimes. It's just the way that you like to give him reasonings and excuses that it's like, do you get it to the other quarterbacks or whatever? Yeah, so it's not surprising or whatever. It just really just kind of like, well, here we go again with another Josh Allen thing. But like I said, I would need to know who these players are because, they also try to say like these are the same players that put Patrick Mahomes number 4 in the players ranking of 100, and it's like we're going off the season. Patrick Mahomes had a good season. He didn't have one of his special seasons. I was like, it's not one of his greatest seasons. It was a good season, but we was asking questions about Patrick Mahomes that whole year. Why his team looked like that, all the other stuff. So guess what? If everything else is around him not doing good, and then I was like, guess what? His stuff is like, even though his numbers not going to dip or whatever, we hold him to this high standard. I was like, there was questions around Patrick Mahomes that him being number 4, like, come on, get out of here. Like, yeah, it's not the same compared to being like, now, so you say people that say Josh Allen's overrated. I'm like, they got to play the game too. Like, just because it's your favorite player or whatever you like it in the media or whatever that y'all picking don't mean that everybody else feel the same way that play the game. And it's not like they over here like, yo, that dude garbage. But at the same time, who are they supposed to pick as overrated? Think about it. Who are they supposed to pick as overrated? Jared Goff? Baker Mayfield? Who? There's nobody that if they would have picked any of those players, I would like maybe Kirk Cousins. I was like, maybe Dak Prescott, but I was like, the way they're talking about Dak Prescott, he'd probably be like, how dare you call him overrated? So I'm like, the whole point of overrating is sort of the hate, but it's also like, you got to get somebody who's actually at a high enough level in order to do it. Otherwise, saying somebody overrated is really kind of like, like the only way that it really works is somebody popular who doesn't play well was getting a lot of like favoritism and buzz and stuff like that. And which I don't even know who that would necessarily be in the league right now. That is like, they're not that, like, you're like, they're not that guy, but everybody's like, like no, woe is him and all this other stuff. And I was like, and that's why I said, I'm like, it's kind of is John Allen. It sort of has to be, because he sort of checks a lot of the boxes to be overrated. Doesn't mean he necessarily is, but I was like, he got the media. I was like, we make excuses for him or whatever. I was like, we praise him as basically, if it ain't Patrick Mahomes, he's the best quarterback after that. They talk about him without even though he doesn't have none of the accolades. I was like, and I was like, and I was like, but then when you follow with Jalen Hurts into it, it makes a lot of sense of the list. It ain't just like Josh Allen, and then it's like, yo, Gardner Minshew, and then it's like, oh yeah, Jameis Winston. It's not like, that's not the list or whatever. Which I mean, you could probably, maybe Derek Carr. That probably, he probably that in that, him, Kirk Cousins probably in that barometer range, and even them, nobody gonna say they're overrated because you're not gonna do that. Anyway, I don't know. Just had to get that on my chest or whatever like that. Because, like I said, Josh Allen, oh, poor guy got a boo-boo on his knee. We got to give him a Band-Aid. But you get your cast ass out there. I don't know. Anyway, till next time. Peace. I'm out.